Yahi was born as a cursed beastfallen who was half human and half beast. This made him a target amongst bullies who constantly bullied the poor boy for fun. As Yahi grew up, his kind started being hunted for their rare bodies. Yahi's parents sacrificed their lives to protect him, which turned him into an angry war beast bent on killing hunters. But before any of this, a long time ago, witches and the church fought a great war in which the witches were defeated and the church started to hunt down the remaining witches in the name of God. Amongst those witches was Sorna, a mooncaller witch beloved by the masses. The church crucified her and burned her on the stake for the crimes of spreading plagues across the lands. This gave birth to the golden flames, the fiery sparks which where everyone yearned to master the art of sorcery. However, amongst the craze for the art of sorcery, the world started to forget about an ancient art known as magic. Back to the present, a few witches are shackled to the stakes as the masses call for their deaths. The church's bishop orders the righteous servants to ignite the flame. The fire quickly spreads from the bottom and the witches are soon engulfed by it. Amongst their shrill cries for help, the masses chant the name of the church and sing praises to their god. Outside the chaos, a shadowy figure is watching all of this happen right in front his eyes. The figure sighs and moves away from the scene as he moves through the dark alleys filled with girls who ask him if he wants some spicy action just for a couple bucks. The figure declines their offer and continues to walk straight as he reaches the end of the alley, where he places some coins on the table and asks the shopkeeper for some salt. The shopkeeper is about to tell him that the shop is closed, but after he looks at his face, he realizes that the person in front of him isn't a human but a beastfallen. Just then, an arrow is shot towards the beastfallen, who catches it in his bare hands and breaks it into two pieces without much effort. He looks ahead and realizes that the arrow came from the bounty hunters who are there to hunt his head for the bounties placed by the country. The beastfallen are hunted by the church because they are the source of powers for the witches who can use their blood to enhance their sorcery. So to prevent the witches from growing stronger, the church has placed bounties on the heads of these beastfallen, who are half human and half beasts. The beastfallen doesn't engage with them and quickly escapes in order to not draw that much attention towards himself. He soon arrives at the forest outside of the city, where he meets an old man who recognizes him as the Black Beast, which is quite ironic because his fur is snow white. The beastfallen denies the allegations, so the old man doesn't press and hands him over two of his hunts for some coins. Later at night, the same beastfallen is running like a stray dog as a witch chases after him. The witch uses magic to summon a bow out of thin air and shoots at the beastfallen, who barely manages to dodge it. While cursing his terrible luck for always running into the witches, the poor beastfallen continues to run as he moves left and right to dodge the magic arrows. Unfortunately, one of the arrows strikes the ground, which causes it to break, making the beastfallen fall down into the deep forest below the cliff. Meanwhile, a young woman is sitting amongst the woods preparing a soup for herself in great hurry as she has not eaten since many days. The soup is almost finished, but before she can has the grace of drinking it, a furry beastfallen falls straight on top of it, ruining all of her efforts. The young woman starts to squish the face of the beastfallen in anger as she yells at him for ruining her dinner. The beastfallen is about to say something, but just then another magic arrow comes flying straight towards him. He immediately picks up the young woman and starts to run away once again. But this time, the young woman stops him and gets away from his shoulder and tells him to just wait and see. Soon, the ground around them starts to shake as the clay starts molting into the shape of a wall, which stops the witch from chasing after them. The beastfallen is shocked to see that the young woman is also a witch. He quickly realizes the danger and escapes without giving any chance for this new witch to explain herself. After escaping for a long time, he finally settles around in a hidden corner where he starts his own preparation for dinner. He cooks up a delicious stew with whatever ingredients is available on his hands. While he is waiting for the stew to cool down a bit, he starts reading the map in his hands. Just then, the white-haired witch from earlier appears out of nowhere and starts eating his stew without even asking his permission. The beastfallen is angry at her as he tells her to back away, but the witch tells him that since he ruined her soup, it's only morally right that he allows her to eat from his own. The beastfallen is in no mood to discuss morals with a witch as he tells her that the witches are behind his misery. Not only they hunt him down, but due to them the humans are also hunting them down. The witch tells him that the beastfallen were the creations of the witches themselves. She further explains that the beastfallen were created for the sake of the war between the humans and the witches by combining some sort of demonic elements with the human blood. The beastfallen doesn't believe her, so she reveals that she can see his human face behind his furry face. The beastfallen is shocked, but the witch shocks him even more by telling him that she can even help him turn into a human if he follows her. The beastfallen asks her why she needs him to follow her, to which the witch replies that she is on a mission to find her companion named 13, who is searching for a book. a book that can destroy the whole world if it falls into the wrong hands. The beastfallen doesn't believe her but decides to follow her since he wants to revert back into a normal human. The witch wants to sign a blood contract, but the beastfallen instead uses the blood oath of the mercenaries instead, which pleases the witch since it means that the furry beastfallen trusts her. The witch introduces herself to be Zero, but when the beastfallen is about to tell her his real name, she tells him that he shouldn't and just tells him to introduce himself as Yahi from now on. The beastfallen, who is now Yahi, accepts the condition and thus the bond between him and Zero is solidified. The following morning, Yahi wakes up from a dream where he remembers hiding from the world because of the hunt for the beastfallen, but one day, he had enough, so he decided to just slaughter the group who was chasing him, which earned him the name of the Black Beast. After waking up, the duo is walking through the forest when Yahi asks Zero about the strange bow that the witch earlier summoned out of thin air. Zero explains that it's called magic, which is different from traditional sorcery, which relies on magic circles. The magic instead pulls power from the sacrifices and the name of the magic itself. She showcases the difference between both powers by first demonstrating the sorcery through which she summons a small fairy-like demon. Here then, a wild boar attacks them, so she uses the demon fairy to attack the boar, but the attack doesn't do much. So she unsummons the fairy and instead calls upon magic, which summons leafy strings from around the trees binding the boar in a place. Since these boars are forbidden to be hunted by the government, she spares it but doesn't spare the person who lured the boar to attack them in the first place. That person turns out to be none other than the witch with the magic bow from earlier. This witch is a boy who wanted to hunt Yahi to increase his powers. The boy tries to use his magic to attack them, but Zero disperses the magic easily. The boy is shocked, but Zero reveals that the magic she was using comes from the book Grimoire of Zero, which was written none other than by herself. So to use magic against its own creator is nothing but foolish. The boy gets humbled after meeting Zero, so he peacefully introduces himself to be Albus. He tells them that he is one of the members of the Sorcerer of Zero, a community who thrived after a man came to their town of the witches and introduced them to the art of magic. Zero asks him if he knows about a specific looking book, to which Albus nods in agreement as he tells her that the book was brought to the village by that man who taught them magic. Although, Albus remembers that the book was written by that man himself, which almost makes Yahi call him a liar, and is about to tell him that the man probably stole the book. However, Zero stops him as she reminds him that agitating the boy right now would only harm them. After talking to the boy for a while, Zero is able to make him trust them a little bit. This makes him reveal a secret hideout that he has been using for a while. He tells them that it's located near Latet village, which is on the road to Formulating. Zero asks Albus if he can take them there, to which he agrees as they set on towards the village. While they are on their way to the village, they stop by a spring to rest for a while. While they are taking a dip in the cool water, Albus talks about the Sorcerers of Zero once again and mentions Sorna's granddaughter. He explains that she also joined the Sorcerers of Zero and is well loved there. He also talks about how beautiful, smart, and well-endowed Sorna's granddaughter is, especially in the chest section. While talking, Albus finds a ring inside the spring, which Zero tells him to put it on since it is a magic item. After putting it on, Albus sighs as he is not really a great witch since his magic levels are pretty low. That's why he kindly requests Yahi to give him his head, so that he can become stronger. Yahi smacks the kid on the head and reminds him that his head is not for sale. After laughing around for a while, they once again move on towards the village, where a kind passerby hands them some tomatoes because he mistaken them to be witch hunters. Zero is happy as tomatoes make for a wonderful soup, but Yahi tells her to be cautious since the village clearly hates the witches to an extreme degree. Inside the village, they meet a man who offers them shelter and food for the night. Yahi and his party are extremely grateful because they won't have to trouble themselves to find shelter anymore. While the man is leading them to their cottage, he talks about how the witches massacred their whole village, and that the resentment against them runs deep in their blood. Yahi and his party become a bit conscious after hearing the harsh words from the man. After learning the history of the village, they start to walk once again but stop when they notice an old woman asking other women if they have seen her lost ring. Albus realizes that the ring on his hands must be from the old man, so he is about to give it back to her, but the man leading them stops him and calls him a thief for stealing the ring. Even when Albus and others try to explain that they got it from the spring, the man doesn't believe them and asks his man to capture them. The man also insults Sorna, which angers Albus, who tells him that they are all wrong about Sorna as she was anything but an evil witch. Seeing Albus defend Sorna this much, he realizes that he must be a witch. Yahi realizes that they are in danger, so he immediately grabs both Zero and Albus and makes a run for their life. However, the man still manages to injure his arm in the process, but the wound is not deep enough, so Yahi still manages to escape. Yahi soon arrives at the hidden lair that Albus mentioned, and there they spend some time to recuperate and heal from their injuries. Zero uses her magic to heal the cut on his arm, and Albus heads outside to do some stuff. After she is finished healing him, Yahi asks Zero if she thinks Sorna really did spread the plagues. Zero tells him that the chances of her spreading the plagues are extremely low, as she was always known to place a bridge between the humans and the witches. Her power also relied on the cooperation of the humans, so if she really did plagues, it would have only harmed her powers. According to Zero, the whole thing was a whole misconception between the two races, as she happened to be using a sorcery when the whole plague struck the villages. Albus overhears their conversation from the outside and enters the room acting like she had heard nothing. But Yahi definitely hears something and tells them that the villagers are coming. After the warning, they immediately move to another location, hoping that the villagers won't find them. Sadly, the villagers know everything about the forest, so they are easily able to locate them and start to chase after them once again. Zero uses her magic to make a few of them asleep, while they quickly move to change their location once again. Later, they are hiding behind a tree when the same old woman from the village helps them run away to a safer location. There she tells them that she was able to locate them because of the fur and blood that she found out on the floor after the man injured Yahi at the village. The group realizes that the old woman is a witch, so they decide to trust her. The old woman tells them that the ring on Albus' finger was given to her by Sorna herself. Sorna gave the ring to her daughter, who married a human against her mother's wish. That's why she gave her the ring and had her promise to her that she will live like a human and stay at the village with her husband. She also mentioned that even if Witch Hunters starts to hunt her fellow witches, she shouldn't do anything which will reveal her identity as a witch. Albus hands the ring to her and the group leaves towards their next destination. Soon, they arrive at a city, but to enter it they need to identify themselves at the entrance. The group waits in line for some time before it's finally their turn. Yahi introduces himself as a mercenary and tells the guards that he is on his way to the capital for the witch hunt. His excuse is valid enough, but he has to pay a fee for the entrance since he is a beastfallen. As for Zero and Albus, the guard asks them who are they to the furry hunk. While Yahi is thinking for a valid answer, Zero immediately answers that they are his night slaves meant for nightly activities. Albus supports her even though he realizes that he is not a girl but a boy. The man coughs for a moment before allowing them the entrance, as slaves don't have to pay entrance fee. After entering the city, Yahi smacks both of them on the head as he reminds them what they just said. Zero is aggrieved because according to her it only saved them from the trouble of explaining their complex relation. But Yahi is still angry because it is harmful to his reputation as the righteous beastfallen. Zero reminds him that doing baby-making sessions isn't something evil, as it's natural amongst all the species. Yahi knows that it's useless to debate against this witch, so he just asks her what is their next plan. Zero tells him that they should look for a place to settle first for the day, and discuss the other things later on. However, Yahi tells her that she should change her dress first because even slaves don't wear hideous clothes like the ones that she is wearing. Zero is angry because these clothes have accompanied her for years. This makes Yahi ask her what kind of life she had previously lived to have such a lifestyle. Zero tells him that she lived far away from any human settlement, so she just ate, slept, and wore the same clothes every day. Yahi is left speechless, but he still asks her if she has any money left, as they need some to buy her new clothes and stuff. Zero pulls out a few shiny gems from her pocket, which causes Yahi to panic, as he asks her to only take out the smallest one and hide the other ones, as it might cause a bloodbath if people saw her walking with such wealth. The group sells the smallest gem and then head to a clothing store to buy some decent clothes for Zero. After trying out different clothes, Zero finally settles on a simple and elegant dress that wouldn't make her stand out too much since her beauty is unrivaled amongst the mortals. After buying the clothes, she is thinking of what to do about her previous hoodie which she has worn all these years. Yahi asks her to throw it away, but the shopkeeper instead begs Zero to give it to her, as her scent still lingers inside these clothes which she has worn for so many years. Zero doesn't see any problem, so she throws it towards the shopkeeper, who immediately starts smelling it as if it's the most good smelling perfume in all of history. Since Zero doesn't look like a suspicious criminal anymore, the group can finally start looking for a place to settle down for the night. Unfortunately, no matter which inn they try, all of them reject Yahi because he is a beastfallen. Zero asks Yahi why is it that there are so many beastfallen in the city but they are still prejudiced this much. Yahi tells her that it's not really prejudice, since the beastfallen are known for their sudden impulse to eat humans, which is why they are so feared. While talking about it, they stumble upon a beastfallen who is salivating as he pushes a scared girl against the wall. Yahi immediately takes action and beats the man into his senses as he reminds him that actions like this are the reason why a beastfallen like him isn't able to get an in anywhere in the city. The beastfallen immediately starts to apologize as he assures that he is not hungry anymore. After the orc beastfallen has ran away, another one enters the alley, but he is not alone as beside him are two girls shackled just like the girl who was about to be eaten by the orc beastfallen. The new beastfallen is a wolf who grabs the scared girl and leaves after telling Yahi that he should visit the inn in the next street if he wants to stay as a beastfallen, although it might cost a fortune. Yahi accepts his recommendation and arrives at the inn where he and his companions get refreshed before leading downstairs for dinner. The food at this inn is scrumptious, which leaves the group satisfied as they leave to get some sleep. At night, Zero wakes and heads to Yahi's room but doesn't find him anywhere, which causes her to look outside where she discovers the kitty cat quietly making his way to a bar. She immediately catches up to him and heads to the bar alongside him. At the bar, she keeps on drinking even though she is already drunk, which worries Yahi, who asks her to slow down as it's not going anywhere. Just then, the wolf-faced beastfallen from earlier enters the bar and looks at Yahi with a smile. He asks Yahi where he got this fine chick, to which Yahi replies that she is not his slave but his employer. The beastfallen asks him to stop joking as there is no way he has a witch as an employer. Yahi is shocked and asks him how he knows that Zero is a witch, to which the beastfallen replies that it's because he also has 3 witches with him who are his slaves. He offers to exchange the 3 of them for Zero, but Yahi declines as Zero isn't his property. Disappointed, the beastfallen leaves the bar and heads back to his place. After he leaves, Zero tells Yahi that the girls with the beastfallen aren't witches but just normal human girls. Yahi is surprised as he realizes that the beastfallen must be up to no good. So after paying their tab, the duo leaves and heads to the beastfallen place to free the girls. But just then, the beastfallen arrives and challenges Yahi to a duel. He promises to free the girls if Yahi wins, and if he loses, he must give Zero to him. Yahi is about to decline, but Zero accepts it on his behalf as she isn't worried because her mercenary wouldn't ever lose. Yahi has no choice but to duel with the beastfallen, who is quite strong and is an expert with the sword, but unfortunately he lacks experience fighting against other beastfallen who can use their tough teeth to tear through their opponents. The wolf beastfallen is easily defeated and forced to admit defeat. According to the wager, the girls are freed and the duo returns back to the inn. Later, Yahi wakes up early and decides to wash his white fur, which is quite dirty from all the travels and adventures he recently had. Zero offers to wash his back for him, which he gracefully accepts as his thick arms have trouble reaching his wide back. While Zero is washing his back, a group of children starts staring at him from outside, so he growls at them to make them run away. Zero asks him why he did that, to which he replies that it's better for these children to fear the beastfallen than to respect them. Albus, who was sleeping, wakes up and finds Yahi in the funny position of looking like a wet cat. Yahi is embarrassed, but fortunately Zero helps him shake off all the water on his skin, making his skin completely dry and fluffy. Sensing the fluffiness, Albus wants to rub his fingers over him, but Yahi throws him away, making the youngster grieve in anger. Just then, Zero asks Yahi if he is not embarrassed displaying his junk in front of everyone. Yahi looks down and realizes that his elephant's nose is hanging in the air, open to the public. Later, the group tours the city as they eat various snacks and meet various locals. They also end up stumbling into the same guard who gave them the entrance when they first came in. In order to keep his suspicion low, Zero and Albus start to act like slaves in front of the beastfallen, and even murmuring sentences like if he enjoyed the previous night or not. Afterwards, they are trying another snack when Zero's gaze falls on a couple kissing each other in front of everyone. She asks Yahi what they are doing, so he explains that it's called kissing and it's a form of expression for love. Zero is amused as she never knew people expressed love through such things as in her mind. The only love between man and woman is to breed. After avoiding the embarrassment of her crude words, the group finally exits the city, where they meet the same kids whom Yahi scared in the morning. One of the kids is injured, so Zero asks Yahi to put some medicine on it, and while he is doing so, she uses her magic silently to make all the pain disappear. One of the kids gives him his necklace to thank Yahi, which he accepts after seeing the honest look in the kid's eyes. After saying their goodbyes to the children, the group continues on with their travels as they go through various different locations and stumble upon lots of wonders of nature. Zero is extremely thankful to Yahi because if not for him, she would have never been able to see so many beautiful sights in her life. To show her appreciation, she throws him a flying kiss as if she is Frieren. However, the effectiveness is more or less the same as our furry friend starts feeling the heat and embarrassment. Eventually, they stop by a river to catch some fish for food. Zero uses her magic spell to catch some fishes. Albus wants to try it as well, so he uses the same spell, but the effectiveness is far less than that of the Zero's. This makes him disappointed in himself, so Zero asks him which type of magic he is proficient in. Albus answers that he is pretty decent in the protection magic. Yahi is confused, so she explains that there are 4 types of magic in the books: hunting, capture, harvest, and protect. The magician's affinity to a specific magic depends on their personality. After explaining the system, she tells Albus to imagine a grilled fish that is cooked to perfection by Yahi's cooking skill. While imagining it, Albus starts to salivate as Zero asks him to use the magic once again. This time she asks him to focus on the flow of the water, as this is where the essence of this magic lies. This time, Albus is successful in replicating Zero's success, which makes the young witch extremely happy. After cleaning the fishes, they grill them to perfection while Yahi cooks up his classic stew, which he plans to serve at his restaurant after he has become a human. Zero is amused and tells him that she will definitely visit him whenever she gets the chance. Yahi is glad to see her encouragement, but a restaurant can't run with just one customer. The group bonds over the fire and dinner as they talk about various things. Yahi's guard against Albus is also broken, as he finally doesn't kick him away when he tries to snuggle against his comfy fur. With one beauty and one femboy around his body, the furry hunk finds himself in a deep sleep. The following morning, the group sets out towards their destination once again. As they are getting close, Albus mentions that there is a dog at village who loves him very much, so whenever he is close, it comes running towards him as if he had already smelled him from afar. Just as he says this, he spots that same dog on the road and runs towards it. However, Zero and Albus suddenly become cautious as they feel that something is wrong. Soon enough, they hear a scream from afar, and when they rush towards the source, they find that the whole population of the town has been burned into crisps. Yahi is shocked to see that even though all the people in the town are burned to medium well, the fire didn't catch the buildings and shacks nearby. Zero explains that this was the result of magic and not real fire. She slowly starts checking up on all the bodies and discovers that not all of them died from fire, but instead some were killed with other types of magic as well. She explains all types of magic that was used to kill the villagers one by one. Yahi is shocked to see all of the killing potential that magic has. Zero tells him that's why she was worried about the grimoire of Zero being stolen, as it might end up destroying the whole world. Soon they arrive in front of Albus, who is crying in front of a corpse. Albus tells them that this whole massacre was done by rogue witches. He explains that the rogue witches were once part of the sorcerers of Zero, but after learning the magic, they became evil and started to use magic to kill innocent peoples who don't have any hand in the witch hunt. However, Yahi is confused as to why would the witches kill normal humans and then start to kill each other. Zero suspects that there was a third party who killed all the witches, but they don't have any proof as to what happened. While they are discussing the scenario, a few looters enter the village to loot the stuff from the empty houses, but are stopped by Yahi, who wants to interrogate them about what happened here. Albus is extremely angry about the whole scene when he notices the red jewels in the pouches of the looters. This makes him even more enraged as he rushes towards one of the looters and starts using his magic to avenge the dead people of the village. Zero tells him that if he kills the looter who has nothing to do with the deaths of the villagers, then he might end up doing exactly what's happened to Sorna. This makes Albus calm down as he cancels his magic and spares the man. Yahi then grabs the looter and asks him if he saw anything. The looter tells him that he saw a tall man kill the witches. He then tells him that he saw the man walking towards the church, which is why they came out of their hiding to loot the village. After knocking down the looter, Yahi and his party walk into the church, where they notice even more dead bodies of the witches. Albus tells them that there is a hidden section in the church where the grimoire of Zero was stored. He uses his magic to open a magic entrance which leads them inside the hidden section. Inside the hideout, they find even more dead bodies of the witches. What's worse is that the grimoire of Zero is nowhere to be seen, which makes Albus panic, but Zero calms him down as they walk further downwards. Soon they come across an injured fat man whom Albus recognizes. Albus tries to heal the man, but it's useless since he has already lost way too much blood. The man tells Albus that he saw a tall figure enter the hideout who killed all of the witches, and they were unable to do anything to him. After telling his tale, the man gives the leadership to Albus before taking his last breath. However, Albus is not willing to see him die, so he keeps on using his healing magic, but unfortunately it doesn't work since magic can't bring back a dead person to life. Albus can only wipe his tears as he lay down the fat man to rest. After taking care of the fat man, Yahi and the crew moves towards the top once again. After looking at the dead witches once again, they start to discuss who could be the tall figure who has the power to kill so many of the witches. Just then, Albus mentions that he might know who is the killer. He tells them that only one person holds such great power, and his name is 13. Just when he calls his name, a giant eye opens up at the roof of the church and sucks them into a free-falling tunnel. Yahi is grabbed by a bunch of tentacles who takes him into an illusion where Yahi is in the middle of a battlefield surrounded by countless bounty hunters. In the end, Yahi survives and slaughters all of them, which earns him the nickname Black Beast as his white fur turned black from all the blood that froze on his elegant fur. Yahi doesn't realize that he is in an illusion, but fortunately, Zero's voice wakes him up as she tells him to use the hand that he made a blood pact with and try to answer her call. Yahi does exactly as she said, and soon enough, he returns back to the real world. However, the group realizes that they have been forcefully summoned to somewhere else by 13, who isn't happy to see them here. Albus calls 13 a traitor as he explains that he betrayed the witches by joining the Empire to hunt down the witches. 13 explains that it's not a betrayal because he is holding down the balance between both forces. At that moment, Zero speaks and asks 13 if he is still stuck to his same ideals. 13 is angry at her and attacks Yahi, which upsets Zero, who tells him that she had promised to Yahi that she will protect him. Albus is confused as to why these two know each other, but before he can ask them anything, the two starts fighting each other with spells. The power of these magicians is enough to destroy this whole place, which worries Yahi, who asks Albus to do something. However, Albus tells him that his magic isn't potent enough to affect the two magicians, so he is just as useless as him. Yahi knows this, which is exactly why he doesn't want to give up. He tells Albus that he will somehow interfere into the fight and he should use that chance to do something as well. But before they can do anything, the two magicians who looked like they were about to kill each other suddenly stops when they hear someone's stomach rumbling. 13 looks at Zero and tells her that it was her. Zero acknowledges it and asks him if he can prepare some dinner for them, which 13 agrees as he starts leading out of the dungeon-looking place. Yahi and Albus are confused by the sudden development, so they ask them what is their relationship. Zero answers that they are comrades and lived together a long time ago. Soon, they arrive outside and realize that all this time they were in the capital city. 13 orders his servants to go and make dinner for his guests, while he explains to them that they are in the royal palace right now. At the dinner table, Zero starts gobbling down the food like a hungry hyena as 13 talks to her about leaving the cave. Zero asks him if he has found any clues regarding the thief. 13 tells her that the thief is extremely slippy and he hasn't been able to locate him. Albus, who is listening to their conversation, asks them who is the thief. 13 answers that the thief is the man who created the sorcerers of Zero in the first place. Albus is shocked to hear this as he finally realizes what Zero meant when she told him that it was her who created the grimoire of Zero. 13 continues on with his explanation as he mentions the three sorts of magicians right now. The first one are the sorcerers of Zero, created by the man who stole the grimoire of Zero. The second group is the rogue witches who have been killing innocent people all over the Empire. The third and last group is the sorcerers of the state who are protecting the Empire against witches using magic and sorcery, which is also where 13 belongs. Yahi asks Zero why she created the grimoire of Zero if she knew it is so dangerous. Zero looks at him and tells him that her reasoning is same as the others, as she wanted to make a world where both humans and witches live peacefully. That's why most of the magic contained in the grimoire of Zero is about doing menial tasks with the help of magic. She just wanted to laze around and do her daily chores with the magic, but she didn't know that the book will be stolen and turned into a weapon against the world. Albus still doesn't want to believe that sorcerers of Zero are evil, as they have always been just protecting witches from the witch hunters. 13 laughs at his naivety as he tells him that those same sorcerers also kill humans in the war as well. That's why no one is truly clean in this era of war between humans and the witches. Albus looks at Zero and asks her if they are still allies. Zero reminds him that she never accepted him as an ally, and that it was all in his head. Albus dejectedly looks at Yahi, who also shakes his head, as right now his concern only relies with Zero and not Albus. Realizing this, Albus breaks down in tears as he realizes that he is left alone once again. 13 gives him two choices, either to give up his identity as the sorcerers of the Zero or be imprisoned, as they can't risk having another witch at the back of their necks. While Albus is crying, Zero looks at 13 and apologizes to him that it was a mistake to create Grimoire of Zero. She tells 13 that he was right about its powers and how it could lead to the destruction of the world. She is also regretful that she didn't destroy it when she had the chance, but unfortunately there is nothing they can do now except get back the book and slay the person who stole it from them. After the lore dump is finished, the group leaves the dining room and heads towards their rooms to rest. Albus is taken to the prison while Yahi takes a cozy room at the corner to get some sleep. Zero also heads to her room, but it isn't clear what she is thinking about. Later at night, Yahi is in his room when a mouse comes up to him and requests him to follow to its master. Yahi follows the mouse and soon reaches the room where 13 is waiting for him. 13 asks Yahi to make himself comfortable as they have a lot to talk about. After Yahi is sat down, he brings out a vial of potion and hands it over to Yahi. He explains that it's a new form of craft which he took inspiration from magic and sorcery to infuse certain elements into oils to create these new things called potions. He further explains that these potions can be made to replicate various forms of magic, and the one inside the vial is a potion to turn beastfallen back into human. Yahi is shocked and realizes that 13 must know the pact condition between him and Zero. 13 tells Yahi that Zero is an extremely cunning witch who considers everyone around her to be tools for magic and sorcery. Yahi doesn't believe it as she still hasn't killed him, but that's exactly why he becomes even more suspicious. 13 notices his suspicion and tells him that it's because he is a rare material that will only be used in a rare situation. Yahi starts to feel aggrieved as he realizes that the companionship between him and Zero might have been nothing but a ploy from Zero. 13 continues on and tells him that Zero has been manipulating him from the very start, which is exactly why his first actions are always to protect her. After contemplating 13's words inside his head, Yahi starts to realize that he might be right and that Zero has been controlling him from the start. He thanks 13 and tells him that he will drink the potion once he is back home. After he leaves, 13's face lights up with a smile. Meanwhile, Yahi is preparing to leave the capital but is stopped by Zero, who asks him where he is going. Yahi is extremely angry that she is stopping him, so he pulls out his sword and asks her what she has been doing to him. Zero is shocked to see Yahi pointing his sword at her. She quickly realizes that he must have met 13, so she looks at his eyes and yells at him loudly. Yahi wakes up from the spell and realizes what he is doing. He is about to explain to her, but Zero stops him and tells him that 13's spell only works on people who already have a seed of doubt in their hearts. She is disappointed that Yahi never trusted her and leaves without stopping to hear his explanation. Yahi leaves the palace and returns outside. Now that he is finally free of all the burdens, he can finally move on with his life, and with the vial of potion that he got from 13, he can turn back into a human, start a normal life for once. He is walking through the streets of the capital when he overhears two soldiers talking about hunting witches who have been slaughtering villages left and right. The hatred for witches is deep-rooted inside their bones, which can be sensed by Yahi. The soldiers notice Yahi, and since he is a beastfallen, they ask if he also shares the same sentiments. Yahi nods in agreement and tells them that he hates witches to the core. He hates how disrespectful they are and how they don't even know how to close their mouths while chewing food. He also hates how they sleep on his furry body without consent and stuff like that. The soldiers are a bit taken back and wonder if they are all on the same page or not. Yahi leaves behind the soldiers and is walking through another street when he finds a man selling wine inside his shop. The young girl buys a barrel of wine from him and starts dragging it away. Yahi approaches the shopkeeper and is about to buy some for himself, but the shopkeeper becomes afraid after seeing him and tells him that he doesn't need to pay. He is about to ask him why he doesn't want him to pay, but just then another beastfallen arrives and tries to take wine without paying. This makes Yahi angry, so he punches the drunken beastfallen, which causes the wine jar to the floor. Yahi pays for the broken jar and leaves. Just a few meters ahead, he stumbles into the young girl who was carrying a barrel earlier. She stops Yahi and tells him that if he helps her carry the barrel to her tavern, she will let him stay there free of charge. But Yahi still inclines to pay, so she accepts his offer and takes him there. At the tavern, she tells Yahi that he can make himself comfortable in the room above, but for dinner, he would have to wait for her father to arrive, as she is anything but a good cook. Yahi smiles and teases her that it must be the reason why there are so few customers at the tavern. Hearing this, the young girl becomes outrageous as she tries to defend her reputation by calling herself the most pretty lady in the capital. Yahi amuses himself with her antics before asking her if he can go check out the kitchen himself. The girl leads him to the kitchen where Yahi prepares a meal for himself and the girl. The girl is surprised that he can cook as well and wonders if he is really just a mercenary. Yahi tells her about his dream of opening a restaurant, which surprises her. Seeing the surprise on her face, he clears that he only plans on doing it after he has become a human. She is shocked and asks him if he can already turn into a human, but Yahi neither agrees nor disagrees with her. Later, Yahi is in the room up above when he hears commotion downstairs, so when he arrives, he notices a bunch of beastfallen eating and drinking free of charge, making the girl's father very angry, but also hopeless. He is also angry at her daughter after hearing that she made a beastfallen stay at the rooms above. The young girl defends herself by telling him that she is cleverly using Yahi to fight against the beastfallen that's occupying their tavern. Her father calms down a little bit, but when he notices the food that Yahi cooked on the counter, he flares up once again. The young girl once again explains to him that she only did it because Yahi was hungry, and a hungry beastfallen is 100 times more dangerous. After saying this, she throws the food into the trash can. She turns around and realizes that Yahi saw all of that, which causes her heart to sink. However, Yahi doesn't say anything as he just heads towards the beastfallen and starts to beat them up. After kicking them out of the tavern, he pays his bill and leaves without saying another word. Outside the capital, Yahi is making a simple meal for himself when the same wolf beastfallen that Yahi beat up earlier calls out Yahi and tells him to pay for what he did to him. Yahi doesn't pay any attention to him and goes back to making his stew. But just then he notices a few strange auras around him which turn out to be witches. Yahi is outraged at the wolf beastfallen for colluding with witches to take his revenge. But his rage is useless as the witches summon their bows and start to attack him. Yahi barely manages to dodge a few and starts chasing after the one in the front. In the meantime, the wolf beastfallen who was cheering for the witches soon finds himself in a predicament as one of the witches betray him and shoots an arrow through his back, which causes him to fall down the cliff that he was standing on. Yahi is happy that the traitor got the karma, but unfortunately, he is also stuck in a problem as there is a witch in front of him and at the back as well. While Yahi is pushing the witch at the front, the one behind him shoots him through his stomach with the magic arrow, but nothing happens to Yahi, which confuses not only him but also the witches. Meanwhile, in the dungeons of the castle, 13 is suggesting Albus to leave the Sorcerers of Zero and go under his wing, as the Sorcerers of Zero will soon be exterminated from the face of this planet. Just then Zero arrives and is angry at 13 for making Yahi leave her. She blames 13 for manipulating Yahi, but he calls himself innocent because Yahi himself was always doubtful of her. Just when Zero is about to attack him, she suddenly falls down from a shock and starts bleeding from her stomach. 13 checks her wound and calls her foolish for using the spell, which causes all of the damage done to Yahi to transfer to herself. Back to Yahi, the witch in front of him falls down the cliff due to fear, while the one behind him is too afraid to do anything as she starts to crawl back. Yahi is overcome with his beastly instincts and is about to devour her, but stops after he remembers that Zero told him even though he is beastfallen, his soul is extremely human. He lets go of the witch and goes back to pack his stuff. The wolf beastfallen who had fallen down the cliff due to her wounds beg Yahi to save him. However, Yahi has no interest rescuing a traitor like him, which causes the wolf beastfallen to cry as he laments himself for not being able to protect Sorna's granddaughter. His words cause Yahi to stop as he asks him if he knows Sorna's granddaughter. The wolf beastfallen tells him that he was in charge of protecting her, but he hasn't been able to find her at all. Yahi becomes interested and decides to save him. Yahi gives the wolf beastfallen a quick first aid which stops the blood from leaking any further. With the strong physique of a beastfallen, the wolf beastfallen would be in perfect health in just a few days. After treating the beastfallen, Yahi asks him how he knows Sorna's granddaughter and why he is protecting her. The wolf beastfallen tells him his tale, which starts off his days as a deranged noble who only knew how to pleasure himself with alcohol and women. One day, he was caught having an affair with another noble's wife, which led to him escaping the city to avoid capital punishment. On his run, he stumbled upon Sorna and her granddaughter who had just been born. The nobleman begged Sorna to accept as her bodyguard and promised that he wouldn't mind even if she turned him into a beastfallen. Sorna is against it first, but after she notices that her granddaughter really likes this odd young noble, she decides to accept his request and turns him into a wolf beastfallen. The beastfallen who calls himself Holdem accepts the role as Sorna's protector and lives with her for a couple of years till Sorna's granddaughter is eventually grown into a young woman. One day, he meets Sorna, who is standing in a sorcery circle, and tells him that the villagers will soon be coming to burn her at the stake, so he must take away her granddaughter and leave so at least she won't be caught in the crossfire. Holdem doesn't want to leave her and tells her that he will kill all those who try to harm her. Sorna, however, denies his request because it would make her an evil witch then. Holdem respected her choice, so he took her granddaughter and escaped the chaos. Now a few years later, Sorna's granddaughter is with him no more as she left him to join the Sorcerers of Zero. While talking about them, Holdem mentions his suspicion about the person who stole the grimoire of Zero being the person who framed Sorna. Yahi doesn't understand why he would do that, but Holdem is sure that it was him who spread the plagues and then framed Sorna for all of that. Holdem asks Yahi as to why he is looking for the Grimoire of Zero, to which Yahi answers that he wants to gift it to his employer, but he isn't sure whether she will receive it well or not. As he talks about Zero, she finally wakes up in the castle and curses 13 for being a terrible healer. After cursing him, she moves towards the door to unlock it, but she isn't able to since there is a barrier placed around it. This causes her to miss Yahi, as he could have used his bulging muscles to destroy the door in one hit. Meanwhile, 13 once again approaches Albus and asks him if he is willing to give up his identity as a sorcerer of Zero. Albus once again coldly denies his offer and tells him that sorcerers of Zero will never kneel in front of a traitor like him. 13 is a bit disappointed as he realizes that he won't be able to use him to his full potential, but it doesn't matter as he still has some of his uses. The following morning, Yahi and Holdem are traveling in order to find Sorna's granddaughter when Holdem mentions Zero and asks where she is. Yahi is confused why he would care about her, so he tells her that he smelled Sorna's granddaughter's smell on her, which means she must have met her somewhere during those days. While Yahi is contemplating it, a carriage passes by them and the people inside it seem to be discussing about a witch's execution in the city square. Hearing this, Yahi freezes as he realizes that the witch must be Albus, who refused 13's offer to join him. He immediately starts to run towards the capital, and after they are there, he climbs on top of a roof to confirm whether it is truly Albus or not. Holdem also wants to take a look at this witch, and after his gaze falls on top of him, he realizes that Albus is Sorna's granddaughter. This shocks Yahi, who reminds him that Albus is a man, but Holdem is sure that he is not a male, but female, as she's Sorna's granddaughter. After hearing this, Yahi is shocked, but he soon calms down and starts making a plan with Holdem to rescue Albus. Meanwhile, 13 comes on top of the stage and announces to everyone that he will soon eradicate all the witches that belong to the sorcerers of Zero. He assures them that he is the sorcerer of the state and won't harm anyone with his sorcery or magic. Albus is tired of listening to his bullcrap, so she tells everyone that she's Sorna's granddaughter, and that the blood of Mooncaller witches flows through her veins. She calls all the witches in the crowd and assures them that there will come a time when the witches will be able to live peacefully in the open without being hunted down by humans. The soldiers realize that it's better to not let her talk anymore, so they burn the stake, which causes a big fire that starts to engulf Albus slowly. Seeing this, Holdem and Yahi immediately make their way through the public to rescue Albus. Yahi tasks Holdem to grab Albus away while he distracts the public. Holdem pulls out a few smoke bombs through his pocket and starts throwing it around to cause chaos. 13 is immediately escorted away by the soldiers as the king orders his soldiers to send reinforcements to stop the intruders. Holdem uses the distraction to grab Albus and starts to run away from the soldiers chasing after him as Yahi stops them. However, 13 uses his magic to restrict him, but realizing that the damage received by him might be transferred to Zero, he stops and let him go. Holdem is waiting for Yahi inside a horse cart where he has placed Albus in. After putting Yahi aboard, he controls the horses to run away as fast as possible. Outside the capital, they are chased by soldiers who almost capture them, but stops after the horse cart falls into the ditch below. The soldiers leave after seeing the broken cart floating through the river. Later, Yahi and Holdem finally come out of the river with Albus in their arms. They immediately start to look for a place to hide as the soldiers might catch up to them once again. Back in the capital, 13 orders his subordinates to send a few assassins behind the group and must capture them alive at all costs. Later, the group is hiding in a cave when Albus finally wakes up, which causes Holdem to become exhilarated as he jumps to hug her. Albus shots him down as she is still going through everything that happened just now. After Albus is calmed down, Yahi asks her why did she hide her identity as a girl, to which Albus jokes that he also hid the truth from her, so it's even now. After that's out of the question, he asks her if she knows where the Grimoire of Zero is because it was supposed to be in the hands of Sorna's granddaughter. Albus replies that she doesn't know where it because she didn't see it anywhere in the church's basement. She mentions that it must have been taken by a member of Sorcerers of Zero after the hideout was attacked. Yahi is a bit disappointed as they are back to point zero since they don't have any leads anymore. He asks Albus why she rejected 13's offer. She replies that it was too horrifying as he plans to kill all Sorcerers of Zero and the Rogue Witches. Yahi doesn't feel that it's a bad plan, as to him it doesn't matter who the murderer is as long as the peace is achieved. Albus has a different opinion because she wants to achieve the peace without losing to many lives. While thinking about a solution, she remembers that Zero has the power to negate others' magic. This gives her an idea to create a giant magic circle that spans over the entire capital city. Afterwards, they will have Zero use her magic to nullify everyone's magic, which will reset everything. but the problem is that they don't know where Zero is. However, Albus has a solution, which is to use the same magic that the old lady at the village used to find Yahi. Albus asks Zero if he has any belongings of Zero, but he unfortunately doesn't, so the group starts thinking of a way to acquire some. Just then, both Albus and Zero remembers that Zero's old hoodie was given to the shopkeeper by Zero. They are about to head to the capital when suddenly they hear noise outside and finds that it's those assassins from before. Yahi uses smoke bombs to blind the assassins as he takes Albus on top of his shoulder and starts to run at his full speed. But the assassins this time are cunning, as they had created a trap for them in the middle of the canyon. They use his magic to detonate a chunk of the canyon which blocks their route, but Yahi orders Holdem to get through it first, and after he is done, Yahi throws Albus into the sky where she is caught by Holdem on the other side. After throwing her, he starts to climb himself, as they soon are able to leave the eyes of the assassins. Soon, they enter the capital once again, where they stumble into the same old guards, but after Yahi scares them off by telling them that he is extremely hungry and might end up eating them, they immediately opens the door and the group is able to enter the capital without much problem. After entering the capital, they immediately head to the clothes store where they meet the shopkeeper worshipping Zero's old hoodie. He is startled when Yahi enters the shop and throws him a bag of coins to buy back Zero's hoodie. The man immediately starts to cry as he begs them to not take it away, as he might die without it. Seeing that he is crying so much, Albus offers him Zero's socks the next time they meet him. The shopkeeper becomes immediately happy as he allows them to use the hoodie. Albus creates a magic circle, and using the hoodie she is able to find that Zero is trapped on top of the Tower of Dawn located on top of the hill. After learning her location, the group starts to discuss their plan, and after it is finalized they immediately starts executing it. Yahi and Holdem accept her plan as they trust in her skills as the granddaughter of Sorna. Holdem helps Albus in laying down the magic circles while Yahi leaves rescue Zero from the Tower of Dawn. Yahi starts to climb the hill of the tower, which is extremely brittle, which causes him to almost fall a few times. On the other hand, Albus manages to create a few circles, but just when she is getting closer to the last few, she gets surrounded by the witches from the Sorcerers of Zero. The Sorcerers of Zero are happy to see that Albus is safe, as they request her to come back, as the Sorcerers of Zero will soon be launching an attack on the capital city and defeat the church and 13 in one go. However, Albus tells them that they don't need to do it anymore, as she has found a solution to make everyone's magic useless, so the playing field will be leveled once again. The witches are sad that she had chosen this route, which means that him was right about her. They tell her that him told them that something like this would happen, so they must put her in shackles and take her away for a trial. Albus wants to resist, but Holdem tells her to not, as it's useless. He tells her that she must stay alive for her plans to come to fruition. In the meantime, Yahi finally manages to climb to the top and smashes the roof using his fists. The sturdy wall eventually crumbles as Yahi finds himself in a dark room where Zero is standing at the door. Yahi is happy to see that she is safe and tells her that he is here to rescue her. But Zero isn't happy, as she reminds him that she asked him to leave, then why did he come back? Yahi tells her that he feels bad for what happened and he didn't want to come back, but his brain told him that he must go and rescue her. Zero looks at him with her usual cold eyes. She tells him that there was no need to rescue, especially after he raised his blade against her. Yahi admits that it was dumb of him to do it, but he couldn't help it as he was under the spell of 13. Zero once again reminds him that it shouldn't have ever worked if he didn't have doubts in his heart, which means that he never trusted her. She further points out and tells him that even now, he still fears her. Yahi is dumbstruck, but he also feels angry as he tells her that asking a beastfallen to not fear witches is like telling rats to not fear cats. He further explains that even though he fears her, he is still willing to come back and rescue her because he believes in her. Just as he says this, he notices something wet fall on his hand. He looks above and realizes that it's Zero's tears, who complains to him how lonely she felt after he left her. She tells him that she doesn't know what he wants and what to do, but she will help him regardless as long as he promises to never leave her again. Saying this, she hugs the big hairy fella, who is once again dumbstruck by her actions and words. All he can do is wipe off her tears as he explains the situation. However, just as he mentions Albus' name, the same giant eye that opened at the church opens up once again as they are both swallowed by the falling tunnels once again. Zero wakes up Yahi, who opens his eyes and finds Zero caged in a cage. In front of her is 13, who tells Zero that it's about time he frees her obsession of this white furry beast. Zero reminds 13 that Yahi is her mercenary, so he must not do anything to him, but 13 doesn't care as Zero can't do anything to him while she is in the cage. Yahi tells 13 that they can resolve everything peacefully and even explains Albus' grand plan to him. He also tells him that this way he can easily get back the Grimoire of Zero from the Sorcerers of Zero without spilling any blood. But this only makes 13 laughs as he tells him why he would need such a plan when he has got a better one. He shows Yahi the book in his hands, which turns out to be none other than the Grimoire of Zero. Yahi is shocked as he realizes that the him who created Sorcerers of Zero is no one but 13 himself. Unlike Yahi, Zero doesn't seem to be surprised as she already suspected it. Yahi is angry at 13 for all the evil things he has done as both him and 13. He is about to charge at him but realizes that he can't move. 13 reminds him that his magic allows him to control those with inferior intelligence, showing that Yahi isn't anything but a beast. Meanwhile, 13 turns back to Zero and tells her that he did all of this for her. He knew that she longed for a land of magic where everyone was happy, so that's why he is going to create that perfect world for her. Yahi becomes even more angry as he asks her if he ever asked Zero for her choices or if she wanted it or not. 13 tells him that he doesn't care as long as Zero's wish is fulfilled. Yahi finally realizes that this man isn't a genius but absolutely mad one. Back to Albus, she is still awaiting her trial, but Holdem is nothing but another magic material to them, so he is sent away to be harvested for sorcery spells. Just then, a mouse arrives with a paper, and after reading it, the female witch tells the male witch that it's orders from him that they must gather around in 2 days to shoot down 13. Holdem, who was taken away by the sorcerers, get rescued by an old sorcerer who tells him that his plan to nullify the magic doesn't sound bad, so that's why he must try to achieve it. Holdem thanks the old man and immediately leaves to do his duties. Back at the dungeon, 13 also explains this to Yahi, who remembers that the Sorcerers of Zero had made a blood contract with him that if they went against him, they would die. This means that him would be able to kill all the witches without even lifting a finger. Yahi is terrified of his calculations, but he doesn't care as he calms his nerves to stand back up once again. He smiles as he tells 13 that he didn't expect to use the potion this soon. Zero is afraid that he might actually consume it, but Yahi doesn't drink it as he throws it towards 13, who dodges it without realizing that behind him is Zero's cage. The potion contains the power to nullify magic, so Zero becomes free and decides to remind 13 as to why she is called Zero and he is called 13. Yahi backs away as he realizes that the things are about to get heated as two of the greatest magicians challenge each other. Both Zero and 13 are equal in terms of power at first, but since Zero is the original creator of the magic, her power far surpasses 13, which causes him to panic as the attack might really kill him if it hits him. Yahi is also worried about that, so he jumps straight in between them to stop her from killing 13, as it might become a regret for her in the future. However, since Zero had casted a magic spell on him which makes every bit of damage done to Yahi transfer back to Zero, she is the one to suffer in the end. Yahi didn't know it, so once he learns it from 13, he becomes shocked and worried for Zero. 13 also feels extremely pathetic as he finally realizes that maybe he was indeed wrong for trying to control things for Zero and acting like he was doing them for her. He remembers when he first met Zero, who was still a kid. She was left under his care as he taught her about the world inside the cave, which only had one hole out of which they could see the tiny bit of sky. Zero was interested about the history of the world, so he lent her some of his books which she read and became obsessed with writing her own book. Every day she would continuously tire herself, and in the end 13 would carry her to the bedroom. Realizing all the time that he spent with her, 13 can't help but feel the urge to cry, but before tears can escape his eyes, Zero suddenly wakes and acts like if nothing happened. She tells 13 that she left a few flaws in the Grimoire of Zero as she knew it might end up being used against her one day. This is why no sorcerer can ever beat her, as only she knows the perfect incantations. 13 tells her that he regrets his choices and wants to make everything right once again. Zero nods at him as she requests him to help her fulfill Albus' plan to nullify all the magic in the kingdom come and for all. Meanwhile, Holdem finally manages to sneak into the camp as he saves Albus from his room and runs away with her. Unfortunately, a sorcerer is still chasing after her, so she cleverly uses magic to capture him. Afterwards, she and Holdem are discussing about the magic circles when suddenly they are attacked once again, which causes them to flee once again. Fortunately, Yahi alongside Zero and 13 finally arrive and rescues the duo from all the sorcerers. Albus is shocked to see 13 with them, so Yahi explains what happened and that 13 is the him who created the Sorcerers of Zero. This causes Holdem to burst into rage as he blames 13 for framing Sorna and killing her. 13 clears the confusion and tells him that it wasn't him but another noob sorcerer who accidentally created the plague while Sorna was trying to use magic to save the village. Holdem is calmed down, but Albus still holds a grudge against him, so she is about to use her magic to finish him off, but 13 first tells her to end her contract with him, which all sorcerers of Zero created when they started learning from him. After ending the contract, 13 allows her to kill him but tells him that he at least deserves a chance to redeem himself. Albus accepts his request and grants him a chance to redeem himself. The group, now having a mutual understanding, starts working towards the magic nullifying ceremony, as they all split up to speed up the work. With 5 people working together, they are quickly able to finish up the work as they gather at the center to end everything that was started after the birth of the magic in this world. However, such great magic ceremony needs the power of all 3 witches. 0 and 13 are already there at the center, but Albus is nowhere to be seen. However, Holdem trusts in Albus that she will soon return, as she is the granddaughter of Sorna after all. In the meantime, both beastfallen are tasked to protect them from them intruders, as the witches from the sorcerers of Zero soon manages to locate 13 and comes to claim his head. The whole royal capital is engulfed in war as the witches want to capture 13. However, the kingdom doesn't know where 13 disappeared, so they can only hold off the witches back while trying to gather up enough strength to wipe all of them here in the capital. The remaining witches are trying to kill 13, who is defenseless inside the magic circle. Holdem and Yahi are on their last legs when Albus finally arrives and joins the magic circle with both witches. The trio of the witches calls upon the magic circle, but to complete there is one last thing remaining, which is a sacrifice. Zero asks Yahi to trust her as she promises that it won't claim his life. Yahi trusts her because she is his employer, so he sits in the middle of them as the heavenly lightning lands on his white fur, which causes the demon to occupy his body for a while. Using the forbidden power from the demon, Zero is able to complete the magic nullifying circle, which evaporates all source of magic in the kingdom, giving birth to a new era where the witches and humans can live peacefully together. To avoid future tragedies, the kingdom hires Albus as the state head of the witches, who lose their powers, while 13 is burned at the stake for his crimes. However, it was only an illusion, as the real 13 was pardoned for his crimes and given the task to nurture sorcerers to protect the kingdom if anything harmful arises in the future. Zero, who was supposed to turn Yahi back to human, confesses that the magic nullifying ceremony made his flesh and soul bound together in a way that's even more difficult for her to turn him into a human again. But she promises that once she grows stronger, she will definitely help him do it. Till then, they decide to roam around the world together to see the things that Zero was never able to when she was a child stuck in the cave. The story ends with the duo setting out on their new journey as countless new adventures await them. If you enjoyed our video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.